Hello everyone, Pally here. Welcome back to Path of Exile 2. I hope you guys are doing well today, as always. I am so happy to be here giving you the follow-up episode for our Sorceress. We are specifically a Chronomancer for our Ascendancy, which means we control time, and boy do we in some pretty big ways. This character absolutely surprised me. I'm enjoying it way more than I ever thought I would. Don't get me wrong, I love Essence Drain and Contagion. We're playing a Sorcerer just to try to mix it up a little bit with that combination of abilities. While we were leveling, I was torn between going for these big AoE increases so we could spread our damage across the screen easier, and also picking up things that would increase my damage and curse our enemies more and debuff them more. Being split between the two worlds was doing me no favors. I have fully gone in on curse magnitude, and the results are absolutely astonishing. Here's a little bit of gameplay so you can see how the build is coming together. Most enemies, while mapping, never even have the opportunity to attack me. We are slowing them by so much that they simply can't complete the animation in order to send the damage. On top of that, if they did manage to hit me, we have another curse in there reducing damage by up to 60%, so I'm barely gonna feel it, even if they do manage to connect. We're also stripping the resistances of everyone around us, so my chaos damage is hitting even harder, and that's important when you consider that this is not a crit build. One of my favorite in-game activities to do with this build is Breach, and I'm sure you could tell why. There is a ton of density, a ton of enemies on screen, and they are packed very tightly together. With our Essence Drain and Contagion, when one target dies, whatever damage over time effects they have is spread to the next target nearby, and we can just cascade that dot to everyone inside of the breach. In fact, in most of the footage you see here, I didn't even cast. I'm just walking around, letting that damage over time continue to propagate between enemies. Then at the end of the breach, once those big elites spawn, that's usually the most dangerous part, I walk up and use one of our Chrono Warden abilities called Time Freeze, literally freezing them in the exact moment they're in time. I can still continue to do damage. They can't react to anything, as if this build wasn't safe enough. That just takes it to the next level. After seeing that AoE clear, you might be wondering how our single target boss damage is. Well, our damage to a single target doesn't really tell the full story. Most bosses never even get a chance to move. The effects of Time Freeze are much more pronounced when you're just fighting a single enemy, and that means most of my gameplay comes down to just making sure I have 2 Dark Effigy totems up all the time, and the boss has at least 1 dot on them so the Dark Effigy will continue to shoot them. It's pretty chill. Now, for me personally, I've never seen Chrono Warden gameplay before. It just never really landed on my radar. But when I saw just how strong this time manipulation stuff is, bro, I was absolutely hooked. It is worth mentioning that I have played almost 900 hours of this game completely solo, and I imagine most of you experienced the game solo as well. This is a solo viable build. However, this exact build can be used in party play to great effectiveness as well. The curses you provide are so incredibly strong, and let's say you join a party that's dealing mostly elemental damage. Well, it is very, very easy to swap out your Despair curse for elemental weakness to amplify everything that they are doing. In fact, I think the next step for this build for me is going to fully convert it into party play, but that's a story for another day. All right, time to break down the build. We're going to start off with the gems, move on to the gear from there, and then lastly, take a look at the passive tree. I'm going to try some fancy editing today. Let's see if Editor Walter has what it takes to make this work. The main way we deal our damage is with Essence Drain and Contagion, which is its counterpart, but we are supporting Essence Drain with Cold Mastery, Swift Affliction, Intense Agony, Considered Casting, and Deliberation. Contagion itself, not as important in the damage department. This is a level 1 gem that I'm using to help make the mana use of this build a little bit more manageable. We have Magnified Area supporting that, along with Unleash, Chaos Mastery, Chaotic Freeze, and Arcane Surge. Our main way of dealing single target damage is with the Dark Effigy totem. If we have a damage over time effect on an enemy, this totem will homing missile barrage them until they are no more. This is mainly what we use to kill high health elites and to deal damage to bosses. By default, we have a 1 totem limit, but we can make that a 2 totem limit very easily with Overabundance 2. We're also supporting its DPS with Urgent Totems 3, Rapid Casting 3, Poison 2, and Controlled Destruction. Blasphemy is what we're using to effortlessly apply our curses to our enemies. And with our unique and passive tree setup, we can have 3 curses slotted into Blasphemy. I don't have to cast anything. Enemies walking up is all it takes to get these massive debuffs applied to them. The debuffs we're using are Temporal Change, which says it's slowing enemies by 66%. However, if we dive in and take a closer look, with our curse magnitude, that is actually a 131% slow on every enemy on the screen. We then are using our Enfeeble to keep us safer, reducing damage dealt from enemies by 60%. Lastly, Despair is removing the chaos resistance from any target that gets too close to us, so our Essence Drain, Contagion, and that damn totem can deal even more damage to our targets. We're supporting this even further with the heightened curse support. Supported curses have a 25% increased magnitude. That's important for Blasphemy because Blasphemy lowers the magnitude of your curses. Lastly, we are throwing in even more of a slow magnitude with slow potency. If you wanted to get a bigger area, Ritualistic Curse would be a great pickup here too. To round out our spirit, I am using Withering Presence. What this does is wither anyone in my presence. Wither is a debuff that makes our chaos damage deal more to the target, so this is just free damage on the table, if you have enough spirit to be able to use it. We have Prolonged Duration, Clarity, and Chaos Mastery supporting this. For my defensive layer, I'm using Convalescence with the last little bit of spirit that I have. This is really cool for a Chronomancer because we can actually reset our cooldowns as well. More on that in just a sec. If I ever take too much damage, all we do is press Convalescence and our energy shield starts to recover. To support that, we're using cooldown recovery and Second Wind. Now, up until now, anyone could use those gems on just about any class, on any ascendancy, and have a great time. But what really brings it together for us is the Chronomancer abilities. I've already alluded to these a bunch, but the first of which is Time Freeze. I can just freeze an enemy in time, and they can't do anything. The second is Inevitable Agony. If you hit an enemy with damage, it basically double dips that damage. So you can see this little weird section of the target's health bar. That is from Inevitable Agony. And this works in multiplayer as well. It's not just my abilities that can contribute to this. It's quite a lot of extra damage in a party setting. Of course, I have 2 charges of the Time Freeze, excuse me, so we were able to keep him completely still the entire boss fight. But let's just say that boss started moving around a little bit. Well, we have another ability, Time Snap, which resets all of my ability cooldowns. So I can once again time freeze and keep that target still for even longer. Now, it is worth mentioning that there is a big diminishing return on time freeze. Those first couple freezes last a really long time. Eventually, they're barely going to be stunned at all. But if the boss fight continues, those diminishing returns will fall off, and you'll be able to get your full crowd control going again. Time freeze is genuinely one of my favorite abilities I have ever seen in this game. I think it is so incredibly cool. We are supposed to only have a 3-second duration with this bad boy, but as you can see, we kick that duration out quite a long ways. To support Time Freeze, we are using Second Wind 2, Cooldown Recovery 2, Magnified Area 2, Prolonged Duration 2, and Rapid Casting 3. I'm saving myself a little bit of that fancy editing right now. I hope you guys liked it though. Time Snap is one of the core pillars of what we're doing. It allows us to reset our cooldowns. Incredibly strong. I could be using Time Freeze a lot more versus our enemies. I mostly just save it for the end of breaches and bosses, but if we're ever in a pinch, just use Time Freeze because you can reset the cooldown so easily with Time Snap. It is worth mentioning that this is a cast, so it does have a little tiny bit of a channel. If you're moving, you can cancel the reset of your cooldowns, and it's infuriating. Make sure you plant your feet. To support Time Snap, we are using Cooldown Recovery 1, Rapid Casting 2, Arcane Surge, and Efficiency. You could put a second charge of this ability. I put a second charge of all of my other cooldowns. I just didn't really feel like I needed one here. Inevitable Agony is so cool in group play. Like I said, it's that little weird part of the health bar of the boss. This is where a lot of our extra damage comes from. We're supporting that with Prolonged Duration 2, Spell Cascade, so we can hit a large amount of enemies at once in a wide area, making that even better with Magnified Area 2. When I'm in a group play, this is the majority of what I'm casting, just to make sure that everyone's getting extra damage on what they're doing. Efficiency 2 to make it a little cheaper to cast, and then Rapid Casting 3, just in case I happen to get slowed or something. Getting these casts out a little bit faster can be a huge deal. I lied. The fancy editing is back. In the background, we're going to be fighting the Pinnacle Breach boss, while I walk you through the gear I'm using for our character. There are, I think you could argue, 2 mandatory uniques for our setup, the first of which is Deodri's Damning. This is one of the pieces that allows us to have the triple curse setup. By default, you can only have 1. This ring enables 2, and there's a node on the passive tree that enables our 3rd curse to be active. Next up is our helmet, which is the Alpha How. Now, I say this is mandatory. Arguably, if you threw enough money at this, I think you could achieve the same spirit levels through other means, but this is certainly the cheapest way to get it done. I bought this helmet by default. It maxes out at 100 spirit. This one's corrupted to have 122 on it. That being said, this was still very cheap. We're talking just a few divines a couple weeks ago to pick up this bad boy. I am using one more unique, this one not necessarily required. I am using the Wastegate Heavy Belt. It allows us to equip any combination of health or mana flasks. So I'm actually using 2 mana flasks right now, the first of which is passive and is on all of the time and is constantly just dripping mana back into my veins. And then I have an active one for when I start to actually use up my mana a little bit too fast. This build is very mana hungry, and this was the most simplistic way I could think of solving that problem. Now, as far as where our damage is actually coming from, we have a lot to be thankful for with this wand. It has +1 level to all spell skills from the rune inside of it, but it rolled with +5 to all chaos spells, 110% increased chaos damage, and then we even got over 100% spell damage thrown on this too. That is a beautiful wand, if I do say so myself. We also have +2 to all spell skills coming from our focus, as well as an increase to our chaos damage, and cast speed. Cast speed does affect how fast your totems are shooting, so if you want to pick that up, you absolutely can. Rounding that out with a little bit of spell damage as well. Lastly, we're getting a lot of extra damage from our amulet as well, giving us that +4 to all spell skills, as well as that very, very important spirit for us. I did get quite a lot of rarity on this necklace, and you'll notice there's not a lot of resistances on it or anything. I'm not used to playing with a shield, dude. I was able to get so many resistances so easily. I'm double capped on lightning, more than double capped on cold, and I wasn't even really trying. As far as the rest of our gear goes, it's going to look pretty similar. We're trying to get Energy Shield every opportunity we can. We also are big fans of item rarity and resistances to keep ourselves alive. So these gloves have double resistances over 40%. And then that maximum energy shield. Oh, the curse magnitude I have on this. Apparently gloves can roll that. I've never seen it. I added that in with a Snake Idol rune, and I'm thinking about when I do convert this build over to party only, that I'm going to be putting more of these Snake Idols in. What I have in a lot of my setups is just more armor and energy shield, but we never take damage, especially in a party setting, and I think we can get away with it. As far as our boots go, we try to get as much movement speed as humanly possible while keeping those double resistances, rarity, and energy shield if we can. I am not super happy with our chest piece. It does have triple resistances on it and a buttload of energy shield. That spirit's super important too for us to use. That maximum life on it could have been rolled into something else though. We could have gotten item rarity on this bad boy and it would have been perfect. Our other ring is triple resistances yet again. I went way overkill with my resistances. I'm way overcapped. But we can get a little damage from the ring slot. We're not going to be able to get a ton because our other is a unique, but that 25% chaos damage added on to our attacks does help out a bit. Last but not least, let's take a look at the passive tree, show you guys exactly what we have in our setup. Let's start with the Ascendancy. This is, of course, Chronomancer. This is where we get Inevitable Agony from. This is where we get Apex of the moment. Enemies in our presence are slowed by yet another 20%. I haven't even talked to you guys about this yet. We have another slow baked into the build as well. That's Stack with Temporal Chains. It's so good. And you don't have to do anything for this. It's just anyone that walks up towards you is slowed. This is also where we get Time Snap and our Time Freeze. So the ability to stop time and reset our cooldowns all at the same time. Now we are a sorcerer, so we start at the northern end of the tree, just like witches do. I made my way through the energy shield side, grabbed pure energy, and then went west for raw power to grab a little bit more DPS as well. Dampening shield gives us more sustain, and we're right next to insightfulness and melding, so let's get that for our energy shield as well. One thing I want to point out here, just in case you don't know why this looks different, we are using two different weapon sets. So for our primary, just running around killing stuff, we use that wand that we talked about earlier. This is our weapon set 1, and 99% of our abilities are tied to weapon set 1. However, we do have a second weapon that we swap out to. You can't even tell a difference. It's just a single wand. The stats on this wand literally don't even matter either. It's just a wand that I have. And when I swap out to that second weapon, I have our passives prioritized to give us improved skill duration. And I'll be talking about this more in just a second. But basically, we have that to improve the time freeze and keep enemies locked down longer. That's why we're doing two different weapon setups. However, we are getting more damage from Lingering Horror and a hinder on enemies, reducing their movement speed if they happen to be cursed by us. Zone of Control is awesome for our setup. From there, I just make my way north on the tree, going towards this next jewel socket. Jewels are very important for our build, and most of my jewels look exactly like this one. Improved cast speed just eases out any pain points in the build, but improved curse magnitudes. Max roll on this is 4%. I have 4% on every jewel. And then increased area of effect of curses. That has such a profound effect as you continue to stack up these jewels. It makes a huge difference. There is a little more curse magnitude to the east of that, and we can pick up Master of Hexes here as well. As we travel north again, we can grab Lingering Whispers for more curse magnitude, but Whispers of Doom is one of the key pillars for what's keeping all of this together. I can, by default, apply one curse to an enemy. With our ring, we can apply a second, and Whispers of Doom is what allows for that third. It is absolutely imperative for our build. Up here on the top row, there is a decent amount of defenses that you can grab early on with Patient Barrier as well as Enhanced Barrier up here. I also wanted to grab Dark Entries, improving the level of all of our Chaos spells. Notice that's on weapon set 1. On weapon set 2 up here, I have grabbed Preservation and eventually made my way to the east to grab Chaos Inoculation, making us completely immune to Chaos damage. That's why we only have 1 HP, and then picking up Pure Chaos with weapon set 1, as well as Harsh Winter with weapon set 2 for that improved skill effect duration. From there, I made my way west across the top row, grabbing the jewel socket here, then cutting down for Chronomancy, improving our skill effect duration. I then made my way west again, aiming for Lone Warrior. Your area buffs aura skills have increased magnitudes is what we are after there. Another easy jewel socket leads us directly into a ton of weapon set 2 buffs, getting Grounded in Earth for the skill effect duration, getting Tides of Change for the skill effect duration, and Lasting Incantations for the skill effect duration. This is what is allowing our freeze to lock people down for so long. For weapon set 1, we also pick up a Bolstering Presence, improving our skill aura magnitudes yet again. Lastly, I'm just reaching anywhere I can to try and get any jewel sockets I can possibly pick up. If you want a closer look at this tree, I will link my character down in the video description there, PoE Ninja Spotlight. But that's probably changing in the future, so click on it soon if you need to use it. I tried to go over everything again here with this pan, just in case you missed anything along the way. Editor Walter here really fast. This video's already been rendered, but I wanted to add a little more context in for you guys, just in case you did not know. So we have our time freeze assigned to weapon set 2. And the way you do that is just by clicking this arrow and then selecting which weapon set you have this bound to. We wanted all that extra duration on time freeze, so that's why it's weapon set 2. We want all that extra damage on essence drain. That's why it's weapon set 1. That's how you would do that. Hope that was helpful if you didn't know. I'm very proud of this character. It started out as just a little mess around and find out experiment, and I discovered one of my favorite playstyles that I've ever come across in this game. The amount of control that a Chronomancer is able to dish out to enemies is second to none. And this character literally opened the door for group play for me. Like I said, I've played over 900 hours of Path of Exile 2. I've never done anything in a group, but everyone wants to play with a curse bot. I make everyone's life easier. So this is something I can see myself recreating every season from here on out. Jumping in with viewers like you, jumping in with people in the guild and just seeing what their builds are like has been so much fun. But again, this version of the build is completely solo viable. I've done most of the game completely solo, but I want to take the next step and see what group play exclusively for what this build would look like. And that's what I'm going to be doing next. However, that's not all we're working on. I'm still trying to work my way across the passive tree. Did you know I already have a monk at level 90? Surprise! We're going to be showing him off on the channel pretty soon, but we still have plenty of classes to go before we make our way all the way around. Thank you guys so much for joining me on that journey. Thank you for joining me on this video. If you liked it, make sure you hit that like button. I'll be back very, very soon with some more Path of Exile 2.